Yes, I like to say greetings and the best of salutations. There would be prayer, power, peace, patience, and prosperity. Just want to talk a little bit about the upcoming event. I always like to say a gathering. Reason why I would always like to say a gathering because we are coming together in a cooperative manner. And anytime there is cooperation, there is coordination. And when there is coordination, one speaks from the position of resiliency or the authority of resiliency, because resiliency is the author of success. As we see, we have getting the dross off the gold, rediscovering who you really are. I believe it was Stevie Wonder who said that destiny is the brightest star. And one thing I realized that direction may change, but destiny stays the same. As you see, the topics of discussion that we would talk about, anxiety disorders and trauma stress related disorders, depressive disorders, bipolar disorders, personality disorders, as well as autism spectrum, psychotic disorders, and much, much more. The leg, as you see, represents support as it pertains to what one says and what one thinks. It says that your character, your character should speak louder than your words. And for me, we need to reclaim social solidarity. Now, this event or gathering was brought about due to a discussion that we had in marching forward and breaking barriers toward healing in the midst of a pandemic. So we are coming out from that with more strength, more power, more vigor, and more vitality. And one thing I realized about vitality, for me, that is the only message of clarity is vitality. How so? When you go to the doctor wants to check your vital signs. So that's the message. But he asks what environment that you grew up in, because environment is important. We have Brother Will Murray, who's going to be on there as a minologist. We have Brother Paul Thompson, spiritual healer, spiritual teacher. Brother Dennis Asar Winker, licensed clinician, PhD candidate, and also the owner of this facility, Kidnap Holistic Wellness Center. And we also have Marcus Sankofer Nix, who's a master's degree in history. Well, fortunately, we have two of the panels or the brothers that's going to be a part of the event, and they're going to share a little bit, not only about themselves, but about the event and what they are to expect. First, we have coming up will be Brother Marcus Sankofer Nix. Come on up, Brother Marcus Nix. What's up?
Peace to all those tuning in, listening, watching. It's an honor to be able to be a part of this distinguished occasion that Reverend Barnum Kevin has put forth to be a contributor and play my part to this opportunity of healing, opportunity of growth, connection, and self-transformation. One of the things that I had an opportunity to present on from what Reverend Barnum Kevin's put forth before in terms of overcoming the barriers and obstacles as we march forward to get through this pandemic was the idea of the narratives that a lot of times we operate with. And these narratives can be all types of scenarios, things that we've been through, our belief system, our mindset, our ideologies, our outlooks on life and the world in which we navigate in. And a lot of times these narratives or these stories show up in self-talk. And, all types of messages. I'm inadequate in this. I'm not good enough for that. Or the world is against me. Or because of the color of my skin, my height, my size, my background, where I come from. The list goes on and on and on. But in this occasion, in this 4-part series, it's going to be conversation and discussion and dialogue and how we can reconstruct and reframe our narratives in our minds. Because the things that we think about impacts us holistically. So our thoughts, our mindsets, our attitude, that impacts us emotionally, spiritually, economically even, physically, and in so many different ways. So this is an opportunity for the community. Come, it's free, it costs you nothing but your time, but it's worth it. But engage in this conversation. You can share your story, which could be a mechanism and means of healing in and of itself. You can listen to the stories of other people, but this is an opportunity to reflect and reassess where you are and where you are at and what it is that you can do to be a better person and to be the best version of yourself. So once again, my name is Marcus Sankofa Nix, and I will urge you to take part in this 4-part series. Some of us might say, well, I heard what Brother Kevin said. I don't have a disorder. I'm good. Nothing's wrong with me. But just know that there's always room for growth and that we always can be better. So if we humble ourselves to understanding that idea, then we know that there's more to gain in order for us to reach optimal wellness and to live life in abundance. So don't be afraid to question those narratives or stories in your mind. Sometimes it can be scary, or it could be triggering even, or bring up stuff that you might want to block out. But just know, once you go through that process and devote yourself and commit to that process, wonderful things can happen. And these things can show up in your relationships. It can show up in how you see yourself. It can show up with family and all the different ways that you have to show up and interact and engage with other people. So I would urge you to take part in it. Do yourself a favor, and furthermore, invite other people to tune in. Guaranteed, it'll be transformative. Peace to all.
Yes, thank you, Brother Marcus and Kofa Nix, for that expression there. Next, we will have coming up Brother Minister Dennis Asar Winkler, the clinician, the major call in the wheel, the clinicians of clinicians, is going to express himself. Brother Minister Asar Winkler. Yes. Yes, we're talking about. It's going to be great.
Greetings. So I think it's going to be a powerful event. I'm going to say I know it's going to be a powerful event. The discussion we had was great. Brother Kevin, the topic is timely. It's a topic that I find we teeter-totter around. Mental health in the Black community. We teeter-totter when it comes to these things. I mean, I think even Brother Kevin's, carrying out such an event is bold, especially when we talk about he has these things listed as disorders. Many of us can challenge whether there's a disorder or there's order or there's order and chaos, and maybe, if it's Eurocentric or what it is or where it came from. However, what I find out what I've come to find is we never really deal with if it's European or not, where it came from, who it came from, how it happened, and it being of European origin. We don't deal with that. That doesn't matter because there's an issue at hand.
Yes, sir.
And the issue, whatever you want to label it, energy, synergy, spirituality, or whatever you want to call it, is something that is not working for us. Rather, it's working against us many times. It works for us. Some things work for us. But when we talk about anxiety disorder, trauma, stress, now I'm not going to even label those as bad things. But if you aren't adapting to them, then they're working against you. In fact, you're working for it rather than it working for you. We talk about depressive disorders, bipolar disorders, personality disorder, autism, the psychotic disorders. What I realize is, if we want to call them disorders or not, it doesn't really matter. What it is, how do we come to a place where we can accept each other, where we can work with one another? Because it's real. And it's causing a lot of tension in our relationships. And a lot of times, as I spoke about on the last panel, we utilize a lot of spiritual bypassing techniques. And what I mean by that is that, on the panel, I was speaking to hallelujah, and you just think it's gone. But the reality is we do it in many ways in our community, especially some of our more quote-unquote cultural conscious circles, where we might, put a stone on and act like it's going to go away. Now, the stone can help in whatever way it's going to help. I'm not saying what the efficacious of a stone, but what I would suggest is the power resides in you. Until we address our issues, I don't care how much you meditate. Meditation is a beautiful way of coping. Using a stone may be beautiful. We got some stones over there. We got some crystals, But there's limitations to all these things if you don't deal with you. In fact, most of the time, these things can't work for us as they have been the way that they're supposed to work for us, because we're not working on ourselves. We got to work on ourselves. Spiritual bypassing. Spirituality is definitely a necessary to heal. However, if we ignore ourselves, I'm positing that we're not really as spiritual as we claim to be. Ashe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I want to thank Brother Marcus Sanko for Nix, Brother Dennis Assar Winkler. I'm going to continue on in regards to what is to be expected. And then therefore, there are things that we must meet. And then there are things that we must go about to be measured by. Getting the dross off the gold. Rediscovering who you really are. Dross represents the floating impurities or particles. Getting the impurities off in our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our attitude, our language, in our activity. Yes. Let me see if I can work this thing here. See here. And remember, it is in our DNA. Everything that we need is inside of us. There is a spiritual, cultural science or a social cultural science, dealing with technology, agriculture, industrialists, which means we are promoters, we're cultivators, we are communicators, and we have an opportunity to show appreciation, and that's the manner and way in which we learn to express ourselves. Okay, what to expect? In any language, we welcome you. You will be inspired, you will be informed, you will be enlightened, you will be encouraged, and you will be empowered. And remember, if you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. We will about to bite you. I remember Sojourner Truth said this. He said, Sojourner Truth, we care no more about you than a flea bite. He said, well, the Lord willing, I'll keep you scratching. Common Humanity Mission. We put this gathering and event on. We communicate with precision a clearer image to the world, who we are and what we do. Through utilization of social literacy and life skills development. Common Humanity Mission deals with individual and family, social health, human service organizations or organization. The organization is primarily engaged in providing a wide variety of ways to help, aid, assist, and help individuals, families getting through social health crises, illnesses, and setbacks. Our services and the people we service, the menu of services we offer: root cause analysis, character resolve, conflict resolution, conciliatory healing, esteem building. To who? Students of matriculation, the abandoned, neglected, rejected, dejected, and despised, ex-offenders, and homelessness, or homeless, as well as to aging as well. Here's our framework. When it comes to our social health model, the task is understanding perceived acceptabilities. The reason why I say this, for the most part, people always want to be different, but in their differences, they are clocked in by way of conditioning, just to be different. So perceived susceptibility resulting in restoration of one's credibility. The effort is to deal with tolerance, advantages, and disadvantages, resulting in readdressing social diversity of one's aspiration. Because I realize when one's inspiration comes down, one's aspiration goes up. Remember, we are a diversified group of people. We came over here diversified. And we're getting the dross off of the gold. The time is in temperament, which means self-control as well as controlling our attitude. Then we deal with the health motivation, and I didn't talk about the perceived severity, which means that sometimes we deal with it, we be holding on to imaginary hurts. We have to let the imaginary hurt go. It's like the boogeyman. It does not exist. And resulting in realizing social coherency. And then we deal with the energy is in the confidence. That deal with perceived benefits, resulting in replenishing one's continuity when it comes to flows and blockages, limitations, and accomplishments. Open-mindedness, closed-mindedness, narrow-mindedness. We need to overcome all these things and understand these things. And do they benefit us or do they hurt us? And the natures is in respect. And that's perceived barriers, once again, barriers that we put up on ourselves and in front of us. And we must reclaim social solidarity. The 5-star approach, the progress or the progressive understanding approach. of the social as a social health engineer was designed to provide and physically inspire to prepare the groundwork for academic freedom. What do I mean? That their ones need to have a quality education or academic education. You can go to any institution. Dr. Du Bois said that he didn't go to the white institution because the teachers were better teachers, that the environment was conducive for learning. Wherever you go, you want a quality education. It makes no difference what is their race or what is their ethnicity. I may use those two languages. That helps to aid and assist in the social transformation of conciliatory healing. The healing process of being progressively understood, because we need to learn to reason from the premise of conversation and reason with progression. Then we have the universal tolerance approach of the social health as a social health engineer, as protectors. Is designed to intellectually enlighten and to build upon the work for intellectual independence or intellectual interdependence that helps and aid and assist in the social transition of conciliatory healing process of being universally tolerant. Because whatever it is that's going on that affects you, what affects one's indirectly affects one's directly, or what affects one directly affects one's indirectly, or vice versa, which means that the situation that we are dealing with, it's global. It's global because we are global citizens. The holistic approach, temperament. You have to have the right attitude. You have to control your attitude as we continue to deal with this social health engineer, which preserves us when it comes to our emotions, or being emotionally encouraged to further aid to work for the financial stability to help aid and assist as the social transcending of conciliatory healing. What I mean by financial stability, I mean that relationships that we have with one another, they should be preserved. And therefore, when they are preserved, sooner or later, it will convert into finance. Next, we have the comprehensive approach. When we do the comprehensive approach, we'll be transferring this conciliatory healing process when it comes to social health engineers. And 5 is a conscientious approach. And when you have that conscientious approach, it encompasses the embodiment of social transparency, transparency of conciliatory healing. When I deal with conciliatory healing, I mean overcoming animosity and distrust. 5 learning disabilities, feelings of inadequacy, alienation, and grievance, discrepancy, and indifferences. We have to deal with these 5 learning disabilities. Wherein individuals and families become more understanding of each other, become more tolerant, be able to control their attitude, display more confidence, and become more respectful. These are the results. Our mission is to promote the value of self-worth and to communicate with precision and clearer image to the world. And our mandate is to cultivate the potential knowledge that is in us all. Common humanity pointing the way. Five ways we communicate, we administrate, facilitate, and coordinate. Aggregate and perpetuate. We must be progressive in the 5 ways in which we communicate, in the ways we communicate universally, holistically, comprehensively, and consciously/conscientiously. These are the 4 keys to our success. There's the need meeting period, the issue resolving period, the problem solving period, and the question and answer period. Problem solving skill. We must develop problem solving skills. It is said that a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, whereas an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. We must identify what the problem is. We evaluate, explore, look for alternatives, set goals, select, and implement. The 4-point platform, which we've been speaking from: academic freedom, intellectual independence / interdependence, financial stability, and spiritual understanding. We're promoting the value of self-worth to specific populations: students of matriculation, the abandoned population, the neglected population, the homeless population, ex-offender population, the aging and the elder. As you notice, there is no youth, but the students of matriculation is associated with the youth. And I realize that the youth is being hunted by the adult, and the adult is being hunted by the youth. The STEAM building pyramid: success, ascension, potential, procedure, policy, description, prescription, and purpose. We have to give the right dosage, and the proper diagnosis when it comes to these disorders. That we're remarketing, we visualize it, conceptualize it, textualize it, contextualize it, which means historical context, and then we actualize it, which means that our words, we must speak, what we say, we must act on it. We must first learn to accept the facts. We don't accept the facts, then we deal with cognitive dissonance. Yes. So we deal with cognitive dissonance if we don't accept the facts. And then we must deal with lack of prejudice, self-fulfillment, problem solving. We're here to do all of this. This is what this is going to partly also be about. Spontaneity. We got this spontaneity about us because it is in our DNA to solve any problem that may come about. Then we have the creativity that is in us, and as well as the morality. This is a peaceful, meditative moment where it is required upon us really at times just to sit still, reflect, meditate, visualize,